Welcome down the rabbit hole, friends. I'm so happy to have you guys here with me today. I'm actually really enjoying going through this Britney Spears book. As I told you before, I was never a Britney Spears fan when she first came onto the scene. Her music was fine if it popped on the radio when I was driving around. I think I was getting ready to go to college. But it wasn't like I was devoted to her or a major fan, but I've become a fan through her actions as a real person. What's happened to her throughout the course of her conservatorship, what's happened to her with her parents and her family is really what's drawn me in and attracted me to her. And now that I'm reading this book, I really feel even so much more connected to the kind of struggles Britney has been through. Of course, it's on a whole other different level and scale for her, but I think many of us who are mothers and spouses and just women can relate to what Britney has been through. All right, guys, so I don't want to keep you for too long. Let's start with chapter 9. Okay, so chapter 9 is about her first big single, Hit Me Baby One More Time. Okay, she says that when she goes in to start working with the label on creating some kind of a music video for it, they had a concept that it would be about a futuristic astronaut. Sounds familiar, right? I think they did this concept later in Oops, I Did It Again. But Britney came to them and was like, hey, will you work with me? There was a director for the video named Nigel Dick, and he was open to ideas from Britney. Britney states that she's the one that came up with the school bell cueing the start of dancing, and that she thought it would be a really good idea to have a lot of cute boys and girls who are coming together at school. And she was very interested in wearing the schoolgirl outfit. I've always wondered, people say this all the time, okay? Felicia and Britney's mom, they're like, Britney came up with the concept for that. That was all her. All right. And I've always wondered if that was true or not, if that isn't just this whole legend of being Britney just knew from the beginning, how to make things work, how to appeal to the public. She was sexy without even knowing it. According to Britney, the legend is true. Whether or not it's true, I still have to second guess it. I mean, she was very young, but she wasn't naive. We've learned that. So maybe she knew that this was going to appeal to people. She knew what sex was, and she wanted to put it out there to drag people in. Britney writes, making that video was the most fun part of doing that first album. And she lets us know that this was the moment in her life where she was feeling the most connected to the music she was making and the content that she was putting out. And she relates her performance on stage to being a famous basketball player, that she was dribbling a ball down the court and trying to make a layup and trying to make, I don't even know what it's called, a layup off the back of the basketball hoop. I know nothing about basketball, but she did. She was a real basketball player. She loved playing sports. She was a real athlete. And she was I was driving that ball down the court. She writes, I had ball sense, street sense. I was fearless. I knew when to take my shots. Okay, so they made the music video. But in order to stir up some kind of buzz around Britney, Jive Records had to send her on a mall tour. This is where I feel I really have to give Britney a lot of props. She didn't come up from nothing. She had to work to get to this place. She went on a pretty long mall tour, and she says that form of promotion is never fun. And of course, when she started out, no one knew who she was. People were not responsive. It took a little bit of time for there to start being an audience for her. She writes, I had to go around saying, hi, yeah, my song's really good and you've got to check it out. She would just get up on stage and say that and then perform. But then by the time the video came out, there was a roar of fandom, which was created, and people started noticing her everywhere. On January 12th, 1999, Britney writes, the album came out and sold over 10 million copies very quickly. I debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 chart in the US. I became the first woman to debut with a #1 single and album at the same time. I was so happy and I could feel my life start to open up. I didn't have to perform in malls anymore. She started by touring around with NSYNC, of course. She opened for them. And of course, that band included her famous best friend, Justin Timberlake, the one who she had met on Mickey Mouse Club. Britney makes a point of letting us know that she was always with her dancers or Felicia or one of her two managers, Larry Rudolph or Johnny Wright. She had a security guard named Big Rob, and she felt everyone was really sweet to her, and she really enjoyed this tour. She got to go on MTV's Total Request Live. She was actually a regular on it, and she ended up working with David LaChapelle, which I've heard about extensively. He did a photo shoot for Britney where she appeared like in her bedroom in underwear. And she does say that her mom was kind of concerned about it, but she loved the shoot and felt like she needed to continue to work with this person in the future. She met Paula Cole, who is a songwriter that I really like. And she says that she was so excited to meet her and talk to her and felt like this was a huge like fan moment for her. She sings, "I Don't Want to Wait. I don't want to wait for our lives to be over." You know, I'm not Paula Cole, but Britney was like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. And it was kind of like a fan moment for her. And these were just good times for Britney Spears. Moving on to chapter 10. Chapter 10 is a lot about Justin Timberlake. All right, here we go. Now this is where I want to say that in Britney Spears' most recent social media posts, she has made it clear that she did not mean for this book to be like salacious allegations towards Justin Timberlake or really anybody in the book. I think she's really letting us know that she wanted to speak the truth, like her truth about what happened, but she doesn't mean for us or anyone to really think badly or go after Justin Timberlake. And I really appreciate that, because the honest truth is that Justin Timberlake was a young kid here as well. We may not like some of the choices that he made, and we still may not like some of the choices he makes as an adult. And it is here that I just want to break in and say that as I was going through, like, looking on the internet, trying to find pictures that I wanted to post about Justin here, I said to myself, like, wow, he comes off in every picture that he took with Britney as just looking like a total arrogant, curly-headed loser, in my opinion. But that's not based on what Britney has to say about him. That's just based on, like, what I did know about him back then, and looking back on these pictures and looking at his facial expressions. I'm just like, what a loser. But you know, I'm not basing that, like, I don't know everything that's going on with him right now in his life. Maybe he's made a total turnaround, who knows. And I do think Britney is preaching to us, like, leave him alone. But Britney certainly wasn't of a mindset, I don't think, to try to get back at him. I think what's going to be portrayed over the next couple of chapters is that she really loved him and still cares about him and wishes the very best for him. Also that she does understand that the two of them could not have stayed together forever. They both wanted to be famous and big stars, and they had it in them to make it. It might have been impossible for two people like that to ride with each other till the end. So I do think in writing these chapters, Britney is kind of trying to let go of whatever was still lingering in her heart about Justin. Okay. So, chapter 10, Britney wants us to know that she had stayed in touch with Justin Timberlake after the Mickey Mouse Club, and they had a lot of fun while on tour for NSYNC. Britney says that she and Justin, they shared so much together. Like, no one else could relate to them about their time on the Mickey Mouse Club. No one else could relate to so many things that they had in common, and so it really drew them together in ways that are extraordinary compared to their relationships with other people. Britney says, pretty soon I realized that I was head over heels in love with him. So in love with him, it was pathetic. Britney writes, when he and I were anywhere in the same vicinity, his mom even said this, we were like magnets, okay? So they would always find each other and stick like glue to one another. And she says, you couldn't explain the way we were together. All right, she goes on to talk about, I think, just kind of like how kind of odd Justin was acting in these days where he's a star from NSYNC and she's becoming a star. She said that they would go to New York with each other and they would walk through the streets with Justin wearing this huge like gold medallion and just kind of acting in her mind a little bit weird. He would get really excited and say, so she writes, oh yeah, faux shiz, genuine, what up homie? That is literally what Justin Timberlake was saying to people that he met in the street. Obviously, Genuine is a Black artist. And Britney kind of seems to be implying that she was a little bit embarrassed by this type of behavior. And after Genuine walked away, Britney states that Felicia made fun of Justin, doing like an impression of him being like, faux shoes, faux shoes. But Britney says Justin wasn't even embarrassed. She watched him get his first big like diamond necklace. It was a large T for Timberlake. And I'm saying that should have been your cue, Aubrey, that this was not the right guy for you if he's that into a huge diamond T necklace. And it's here that Britney says she didn't feel that she could be as carefree as Justin was, because whenever they would go out and get asked questions by media hosts, she felt like many of the questions she would be asked were very uncomfortable compared to the questions asked of the boys. She writes, "Everyone kept making strange comments about my breasts, wanting to know whether or not I'd had plastic surgery. So obviously this did make her feel very uncomfortable, and she saw a big difference in the way she was treated versus others around her." She says that at award shows, she felt a lot of joy. Like, this is when she had the most fun. She said it was thrilling when she got to meet Steven Tyler from Aerosmith and Lenny Kravitz. She thought to herself, legends, legends everywhere I look. She ran into Madonna, and that was huge for her. They became good friends, and she even met Mariah Carey. Now, I think it's so cute. She describes Mariah Carey as walking into Mariah's bedroom and just seeing the most beautiful, otherworldly light behind Mariah, like shining down on them. She asked if they can take a photo together, and Mariah says, no, come stand here. Come right here, darling. We need to stand in the light, in my light. We need to keep our good sides. And Britney thought it was hilarious to see that Mariah was totally in on knowing all the right angles. I love reading what Britney has to say here, because she is like a little girl who's amazed and startled to meet all of these big, giant artists. She's real and raw and taken aback by the fact that she's one of them, and it really helps me as a reader to feel connected with her. Meanwhile, back at home, while she was on tour, her album is breaking records, and she's becoming one of the best-selling female artists of all time. Go Britney! People were calling her the Princess of Pop, and then they released Oops, I Did It Again, which was a huge hit. This is when she first started working with Wade Robson. If you don't know who he is, Wade is very famous now. He is well known for his choreography, and he started working with Britney Spears very young. This will come up later. Britney says that although there were so many triumphs, there was also a lot of criticism. Like, she would have to sit down with people from her label, and they would watch some of her performances and critique it. They would say things like, people are criticizing you for wearing too small of a teeny tiny outfit. And she would kind of have to pull back and think about, what's gonna work next time. The criticism, that was something that was hard to handle. The criticism was not something that was easy for her. And she writes, "The cameras were trained on me, waiting to see how I would react to this criticism, if I would take it well or if I would cry. Did I do something wrong? I wondered. I just danced my heart out at the award show. I never said that I was a role model. All I wanted to do was sing and dance." So she feels some frustration over having people in the media make comments like, is this your role model? Is this who we want teaching little girls? And she does say, like, I'm not here to be anyone's role model. I'm doing my own thing. It was frustrating to Britney to get all of this criticism. And she does let us know that as time went on, she started to see more and more older men in her audience. And this started to bother her and freak her out. She thought that they were kind of leering at her, like she was some kind of Lolita fantasy for them. Britney writes, "Trying to find ways to protect my heart from criticism and to keep the focus on what was important, I started reading religious books like the Conversations with God series by Neil Donald Walsh. Also, I started taking Prozac." Britney Spears, even being the pop princess that she was not immune to having anxiety, to feeling bad when people said negative things about her. It affected her on a daily basis. We can all relate to that. I can't imagine being fully in the public eye and all of the many things they could criticize me about. It must have been very difficult to live like that. And guess what? She's still living it. Even though she's been alone at her house doing a whole lot of nothing for a couple of years now. She does post to her social media. I guess there would be even less attention if she shut that down. But the reality is her life has always been on a big stage and she can't get away from it. Thank you so much for joining me here today, friends. I hope that you'll join me tomorrow while we head down our next rabbit hole.